tell me what drew you to this piece, if you had a familiarity with the piece beforehand or if you were first introduced to it through Bartlett.
Both, actually. I was drawn to this piece primarily because of the challenges it presents to a director and to the ensemble of actors who are going to bring it to life. It is 50 scenes, and each scene is basically its own universe. So you have to go through all of the steps that you go through for any play in terms of figuring out the given circumstances and the backstory and the central action, the relationships between the characters, but 50 different times. On the page, it's beautiful. The scenes are distinguished by a change in typeface. And so it's a fascinating piece, unlike anything else that I've encountered before. I was familiar with it. I had seen a beautiful production of it in the Finger Lakes several summers ago. And so when Bartlett Theater approached me about directing it, I was excited to tackle this myself.
Well, and talk about some directing challenges. Aside from 50 scenes, you are working in a movie theater type space.
We are.
Which for the last production they did, The Flick, worked so beautifully because that was set in a movie theater, so it was done in the movie theater and it really made sense. Talk to me about the challenges of directing in that space, and are you able to use any of the movie theater elements in this piece in some sort of interesting, unique way?
First of all, the folks that run Northgate Stadium 10 have been wonderfully generous to us in giving us access to the space throughout the process. We haven't exclusively rehearsed there, but getting in there and seeing what some of the challenges are for live theater in that venue has been very helpful. But we're using the screen. And sometimes we have kind of the effect that we're almost in a planetarium of sorts because of the vast star field behind the actors. But we have some amazing graphics that were designed by Ariane Mobasher, and they're put into motion by Stephen Dupour, so they were part of our design team. And so I don't know that you'll ever fully forget that you're in a movie theater per se, but we're able to project on a very grand scale, a much grander scale than I think a small play like this would customarily be able to utilize.
And you've directed, I was looking at your resume, and you've directed so many different kinds of plays,
yes.
From experimental theater to what I would call kind of activism theater, to children's theater, to contemporary plays. So do you have a favorite type of play to direct?
I do. I really love plays like this one that sort of throw the gauntlet down to a creative team and say, here are these words on this page. It's very spare. So it's really integral that we come in with a very clear vision to create a world that is uniquely ours. I love plays where playwrights offer stage directions that are poetic in some way. I think there's an invitation to come play with them, with their words. There's something to be said for playwrights that have very clear visions and have very detailed and particular stage directions, and that's fun too, but I'm really drawn to the pieces that tend to be more poetic.
And how would you describe your directing style?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's shifted with this production. Something that we've all talked about throughout this process is how we all came in with a clear sense of, this is how I'm going to approach this piece. And within the first few days, we threw all of that out the window. We did a lot of table work to start. I enjoy table work a lot, but this was probably the longest session of table work I've ever done, which is funny because it's only about a 75-80 minute play. But as we were going through the table work, we were talking about how this play invites you to what we were saying was we were proliferating possibilities as we were talking through the various possible, probable, or certain backstories for each moment. And from there, the process became very organic with the actors, getting them up on their feet.
I love that. So talk to me on your website. One thing that I loved is you say that for you, theater is a world of yes. And can you kind of talk to me about what that means to you?
Sure. I think for me, and for many people I know, theater has been a home. And often theater is a home for people who have not found a space and a place for themselves in their regular lives or in the world. And there is an invitation for all to come and play in the theater. It's also sort of a creative mantra. I take that phrase from an E. E. Cummings poem, where he's and in the spirit of that, I think it is about working collaboratively and entertaining all offerings or suggestions that are coming from the artists in the room. And ultimately, you can't say yes to everything in the theater. You have to make choices, and you have to destroy your darlings, as Anne Bogart says when you're directing. But in those initial early stages of collaboration, I think there is this beautiful opportunity to say yes to all that is presented.
And what do you hope? Another thing you wrote on your website, which I just loved, is you kind of compare theater to the sun. It's a very ephemeral experience, but it kind of touches you and stays with you long after it's done. What do you hope the takeaway from this play will be for audiences?
Oh. In the play, Marianne talks a lot about quantum mechanics. She compares the difference between quantum mechanics and the exploration of tiny molecules to the study of relativity, the epic exploration of suns and moons and planets. And I think this play is a beautiful exploration of that juxtaposition between the finite, our lives, our own mortality, against the vast possibilities of humanity and what may perhaps lie beyond. And so I hope that people take away this appreciation for finding the beauty and the detail in these tiny little moments, which at first glance may seem insignificant, but have ripple effects that take us to infinite places.